So you're only as good as your teacher. So spend some money, hire a great coach, and you'll have a better chance of success. All professionals have coaches. Amateurs don't. Like even Tiger Woods, greatest golfer on earth, had a coach, and amateurs don't.
That's right. Here's Darryl warming up their third pitcher. Well hit to left center field. Out of here. Darryl Strawberry's first major league home run.
I have found in my life, in the world of business specifically, that amateurs do not have coaches and professionals do have coaches. You know, so when you look at a guy like Kobe Bryant, who played at the top levels of the NBA, or you look at Michael Jordan, these guys both had a strength coach. And a lot of people don't know that. I mean, these people had Tim Grover was the strength coach for both Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. People look at your career and they see the success, but they don't see the coach that you had. Could you kind of maybe speak into someone's life out there who's maybe struggling in an area, whether it's, you know, accounting or sobriety or fitness or whatever area of their life where they need a coach, but they're resistant to being coached?
Yes, I think that's because of lack of confidence. Most people believe that they have to do it all on their own, and nobody does it on their own. Great athletes don't do it on their own. We have coaches to help us, and that's the behind the scene. People just look at us run out there and they look at our performance and everything. Yeah, we're great at that, but you know what? Somebody's been behind the scene pushing me to get to that, and that's what people need to do. Learn about their own self and business or whatever it may be you're trying to achieve. You can't achieve the next level just by yourself. You need somebody to guide you and help you navigate yourself through the challenges, because the storms of life is going to come. And when you get in the middle of the storm, if you don't have nobody there, you're going to drown. And I think that's why people don't achieve success most most of us as great athletes, is because we have that behind, and we know that's our motivation right there behind us. And I think if people can relate to that and allow someone to be into your life, someone that's not going to sugarcoat it, someone that's not going to tell you you're great all the time, someone going to tell you need to get off your butt, you need to hustle, you need to work hard. And if you do, you will be able to achieve. That's what most people don't have. And I think that's the challenge of most people. If they challenge themselves to allow somebody else be a voice inside of them, then they can become all that they want to be.
You chose to go somewhere. You said, man, I can go and I can get better. I can go and I can learn. I can go and I can maybe go from where I'm at to where I want to go. But one of the most important things that you will ever do or not do in your life is to value and seek wise counsel. To be coached hard means you have to be willing to be uncomfortable.
What kind of growth have you had since you and I have been working together over these past few years?
3.45 million. I got those stats before I got on here.
So you've grown by 3.45 million.
Yeah, 3,450,000.
Would that be like if you took the combined revenue and maybe doubled it? Have we gone up by
about almost 3, not quite.
Could you talk about just maybe the impact it's made on you, knowing that, okay, I'm going to pay this guy this amount of money. I'm not going to get a random fee or a random charge, or he's not going to, go, oops, we had 2 calls, so it's more, or wow, we didn't meet this week, so it's less. Can you talk about just knowing in your mind that you got the graphic design, the photo, the video, the web, the search, the ads, all of that is a monthly thing?
Yeah. Not too long ago, I looked at what the average percentage of sales was spent on marketing, and I'm like half of the bottom number is what spent on marketing. Obviously, my marketing's working because we're tracking it, right, and the sales growth. And as far as the SEO, and I've messed up and didn't send money to the hosting service and crashed my website. Clay had it back up in half a day. It's really great to have somebody call, just fixes it. I can do it. I do. You do it. You do. So it's very powerful to me to have somebody that no matter what's going on, no matter what crashes, you can take care of it. And I'm very convinced that it's a great bargain. I don't know how you do what you do as cheap as you do, but it actually is super economical for me. Man, if you want change, you need to change, right? And if you knew what you needed to know to change it, you would already changed it. So it might be good to get some knowledge. I always say this: you're stuck at your level of knowledge right now. So if you don't increase that, you can't go anywhere. And especially in the area of business, most startups are technicians, right? A lot of technicians are kind of arrogant and don't think they need any help. Never even read a book on business. That was me. And then wonder why you're having trouble running one, right? So it is a huge win to actually start learning about business. And I read books now, and I value knowledge. But it was a journey that really took the lid off of me, or I'd be in crisis right now at 65 and having to twist wrenches still and be in that mode I was in when I came to you. So I would encourage everybody, even for your health, your marriage, fix it. You need to fix it.
Folks, on today's show, I'm going to tell you about a success story. I'm telling you a success story of a real diligent doer. Now, he could be a male model. You might say, come on, this guy's not real. He's an actor. He's a paid model. His website is RC Auto Specialists. RC Auto Specialists, that's his company number one. Company number two is thegaragebA.com. This is a automotive repair business. And over here, the Ford business is a diesel repair specialty shop. And again, he could be a male model. He could be an actor. He could be a rapper. He could be an AI-generated example of perfection. But he's Roy Cockshaw. He's in the flesh. Roy, welcome onto the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
I'm happy. Thanks for having me on, Clay.
Well, I wanted to have you on the show because I have a client that I'm working with right now. Great guy. And this is not a passive-aggressive testimonial, but he's in the automotive space, and he's kind of going, yeah, but my industry is different. So let's start off with the success, and then we'll get into how we've done it together. What kind of growth have you had since you and I have been working together over these past few years?
3.45 million. I got those stats before I got on here.
So you've grown by 3.45 million.
Yeah, 3,450,000.
Would that be like if you took the combined revenue and maybe doubled it? Have we gone up by
about almost three, not quite.
Got it. So almost three times.
Yes, 275% at least.
Now, what happens with a lot of people, and this, I'm going to send this show right away to this particular guy, is okay. A lot of times we have a bakery, a dentistry, a law firm, a product, and a lot of my clients will say, you know, it's different in my industry because I'm sure you see the same thing in your business. People bring in a car and they say, look, I don't need a diagnostic. I think what it is this. Look, I don't need you to look at my car. I think it's this. Could you maybe just talk about when you and I first met, what were you thinking, or what was kind of going through your mind as you were being introduced to me by some of your friends?
Yeah, you know, I was in a crisis situation on my second business. I was minus 250,000. Now, my first business went pretty good, but I was a mechanic trying to run a business. I wasn't a businessman, and that second one taught me a pretty good lesson. So a good friend of mine, Aaron Antis, recommended you, and so that's why I reached out to you.
And when we and I first started working, I always tell people, they say, how do I grow a company? And I'm going to pull out my sheet, or at least how I look at it. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to go to rumble.com. I'm going to pull up our recent business videos so people can see this. And if anybody out there, you want to follow along, go to any of my business shows. I always put the proven plan in those notes. So let me pull this up real quick. Yep. And I'm scrolling down, and here we go. So people say, what's the most important step I need to take to grow my business? I said, there's 14 steps, but let's go one by one. The first step is you have to know your revenue goals. Roy, every time someone comes in to service their vehicle, you're the kindest guy I know, and I know that you do this. If nothing else, you like undercharge for stuff. And if you're not intentional and you don't know your revenue goals, what's going to happen by default for a guy like you who frankly would give the shirt off your back to people, and you do that? What would happen if or I guess what was happening by default?
Yeah, we were just going under, you know, and I was, like I said, I didn't have the knowledge to pull it out because I was a mechanic trying to run a business, and this one was going to require a businessman. So my journey with you was learning metrics, learning all 14 of those steps were foreign to me. I just thought, hey, I can do this. And like I said, the first one just kind of went by itself. The second one was the one that forced me to change. So that is how my journey began with Mr. Clark here. So.
Now, second step is, you have to know your break even numbers. And
Sure.
break even is just, how much business do we have to do just to break even? And maybe for the listeners out there that don't have a context of what you do, could you maybe share about the kinds of services that you provide at your automotive businesses, just so listeners can get an idea of the kinds of solutions you provide before we get into the break even numbers?
Sure. My big store, the Ford Specialty Store, we go from anything from oil changes to putting engines in diesel trucks. And so it's turnkey all the way across the board. Anything you get done at the dealer, you can get done at that shop. Garage is a little different model. It's the neighborhood garage around the corner. We've done a few engines. That's not really our mainstream. Would be air conditioners, electrical alternators, things like that. Alignments, suspension issues, general auto repair. So.
And it doesn't matter whether someone's a doctor, a dentist, or a lawyer. We have to know our break-even points. And the break-even point is, how much revenue do you have to do just to break even? Could you talk about how you frame that in your mind now that you do know your break-even point? Now that you know how many days a month you have to, how many customers you have to see a month just to break even? How does that impact how you run your business?
Yeah, I mean, you're behind, you're under until you hit that number, and so there's some urgency to get to that number. And I've found that with my employees, if they don't have a target either, then they don't really strive to hit it. And so I've structured my pay plans to where we're all on commission. And so we all are going the same direction for the same reason, and it works good for us. But they most definitely know where that break-even point is when we start making money. At this point, my break-even point is right at 48,000 gross profit per week, shops combined.
And that, and I love how you mentioned the merit-based pay. Everybody on your team is getting paid based off what they produce, not based on how many hours per week that they occupy space and breathe air. Moving on to step 3, you have to figure out how many hours per week you're going to work. Now, this is one thing that's been interesting about you and the different clients I work with, is I have some clients that I work with that are 25 years old, and I say, how many hours a week do you want to work? And they go, ooh, 30 hours a week. And you go, really? Then there's a guy like you who you've been working, 6 days, 7 days a week for years, and you're a Bible believer. You always take your family to church, but you would do whatever it took, and you have done whatever it takes to be successful. And so you did that. But you knew in your mind that you had a vision that you wanted to get to a place where you could take your wonderful wife on dates and spend time with the grandkids and do that. And so you were willing to put in the work, but you also had boundaries on how many hours per week you're willing to work and what days you wanted to be free to travel. Could you talk about the balance of that? Because I do see a lot of young whippersnappers being unwilling to put in any work at all to grow the company. Then I also see grizzled entrepreneurs willing to work 7 days a week. Family, don't even worry about the family. We're just going to work 7 days a week. Sure. I want to get your thoughts on how you balance that.
Yeah, I believe there's seasons of life. Starting a business, you're all in. There's kind of I would call it an adrenaline rush for at least the first 2 or 3 years where I'm working literally 70, 80 hours and not really even thinking about it. It's just what we have to get done here. And after you get some success, I've throttled that back some. I've got a couple of young 35-year-olds that are doing the heavy lifting, and I'm actually running it like a business. Thank you, Mr. Clark. And I was a mechanic attempting to do it, and I was in what I call micromanager hell. I didn't have systems, processes, so I was a fireman, and there was always more fires than I could put out. So hence the 70 or 80 hours, not real efficient. So now I can take off a week or two and not even get a phone call. But that was after many years of grinding and getting to that point.
So powerful. I want everybody to take notes. What you're hearing, folks, is a real entrepreneur, a real grandpa, a real committed husband, a real committed dad, who's just giving you real information here. Okay, there's no BS here, folks. Now, step number 4, you got to figure out your unique value proposition. We have to figure out your unique value proposition, and there's a lot of automotive repair shops competing for business out there, a lot of diesel repair shops competing for the marketplace. And you and I sat down, and I think that was the first area where maybe you and I had some mental friction, because I was obsessed. I said, Roy, you and I, every single week, we got to get video reviews. We got to get images on that website. We got to write search engine content that no one's going to read. And we got to get more Google reviews. And then we got to run the same ads every week. We don't have to change them every week, but
Right.
we keep those ads. So VISMD for people taking notes. It's video reviews, images, search engine content, more Google reviews, and then run those ads, never turn them off. And I think that was the first time where you were kind of going, I don't know if you know what you're talking about. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Well, first of all, several of those I thought to myself, well, Clay doesn't understand my business, and that's not going to work. But I actually did it because I was going to prove you wrong. And I'm glad I didn't open my mouth because I actually proved you right. And in my mind, I finally said, look, obviously I don't know how to do it. I'm sinking this ship at minus 250,000. So I'm going to go ahead and listen to my business coach and do it, even if I don't think it's going to work. And lo and behold, it did work. So really, if you're reaching out for help, maybe you ought to listen to the person that's trying to help you is kind of my takeaway from that. And even though I thought it wouldn't work, I obviously did not know. And that's why I needed help.
Now, the thing about marketing and ads, most marketing companies, I'm sure you've never experienced this, but I have, they want to come up with a new ad of the week, a new logo, a new ad, a new theme, a new vision, a new brand. Hey, wow, Mr. Client, look, it's the spring. We should do new ads, new vision, new promo. And they do that to stay busy, because they want to show that, which would be the analogous to me. If I ran an automotive repair shop, this is where the analogy would go. That would be like me saying, Roy, I just fixed your truck, but guess what? I just broke it again. I'll be back in there fixing it. I mean, it's creating problems. And really what needs to be done is just diligently executing those systems. Could you talk about maybe the mind freedom or the time freedom that's created for you now that you're following the same system and we're just doing it as opposed to coming up with a new idea every week?
Sure. The franchise system, somebody actually developed a business, strong strengths, processes, and then they hand you this model and you just keep doing the same thing every week. Everybody knows what to do. It's really hard for us entrepreneurs to do that because we had to start out micromanaging, but the transferring out of that is key to having freedom and for the money to scale up. I found that people my age, when they start, they had a big, giant capacity. Well, that capacity shrinks up as you age out. And if you don't do something about it and install systems and processes, your business is going to shrink with your capacity because you become a giant funnel. And so those processes, what we do weekly, monthly, day in, day out, we're getting reviews. We're constantly getting reviews. Those reviews drive customers 24/7, and they're my most important thing. And the website on the videos off gets me on the front page, obviously, and so we keep doing what it takes to stay on the front page. I've tried all kind of fancy marketing and I've wasted a ton of money, and I couldn't measure one customer that came in because of it.
That's so powerful for somebody out there. Now, Roy, one thing is when you go into the garage, I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. When we go to the garage automotive repair shop and the RC Auto Specialists, you and your family, you guys have really taken a pride and ownership into running it in a way where it creates a nice atmosphere. It's a good place to do business. When you go there, you don't feel like you're going to a prison. A lot of automotive repair shops have that kind of prison theme going on.
Sure.
You've worked really hard to create a nice atmosphere. And when you and I first started working together, we went in there, we kind of overhauled that lobby. We did some nice changes to the website. We updated the website so the website looked as good as the location. We did a lot of that. But now we're not in there, repainting the whole thing every 2 days. We're not coming up with a new theme every hour. I see these automotive repair people I work with, wonderful people who feel the need to every week come up with a new theme, repaint the whole thing. They're constantly putting up different, they're doing different mailers. They're doing billboards. They're doing the billboards. They got there's local magazines. They're just doing a lot of work and they're not getting the results. Could you talk about just tracking the numbers and why that has helped you, just tracking the numbers?
Yeah, you measure what's important to you. And the term metrics, I didn't know what that meant before I started working with you, but they're the key performance indicators. I liken them to gauges on a car or a scan tool. Like if I'm trying to fix a car and I don't have any metrics, any facts, it's going to be real hard. I may stumble across it if I threw enough parts at it, but it's a whole lot more effective if I can look at some data. That the metrics we track every week are the data. That's the measuring system. So I know if my marketing's working or not because I can track it in dollars every week. Super important.
So we're moving on here, folks. Again, if you're taking notes at home, step number 1 is establish your revenue goal. Step number 2, know your break-even point. Step number 3, define how many hours per week you're willing to work. Step number 4, we have to define our unique value proposition. And what we focused on, just to be clear, with the garage and the diesel repair business was you were already doing a great job repairing cars, but we had to get documented evidence that that was true, because everybody's competing for that dollar. So we had to gather objective video reviews, a lot of them. And by the way, hundreds of them, and not just 200 or 300, but 500 of them per company, per location. It's pretty powerful. Next is we had to establish a 3-legged marketing stool. So we had to think about who are the ideal and likely buyers and what's the most sustainable way for Roy as the business owner to reach them. Some of my clients love hopping on podcasts, and they like to be, one of my clients does RV. They sell RVs, and he loves being on commercials, and he loves being the face of the business, and he wants to do all that. Other business owners don't want to do that. So what we did is we created a 3-legged marketing stool that allowed Roy to implement it without needing to be on camera all day or without needing to post on social media every 2 minutes. Roy, could you talk about that for a second? Because there's so many marketing strategies that could work, but many of them require the owner to live on social media. Could you talk about why you and I together have not gone with, hey, let's make Roy the viral TikTok king in order to grow the business?
Well, I'm happy. I'm thankful about that. It's really not my personality, but yeah, just doing a company that knows what works, i.e. Clay Clark's company. I don't know how many, you work at 600 companies. You've been doing it for what? How many years? 15 years?
20 years.
20 years. So after a while, maybe, just maybe, you know what you're doing, I think. So with the marketing, I call it the low-hanging fruit marketing, the stuff that actually works, best value. I can go on radio, but my ROI goes down significantly. So what we're doing right now, we track those numbers, and it's amazing how many new customers come in per week based on the same marketing we do week after week after week after week.
Now, Roy, you know, I remember this like it was yesterday, and I'll let you share as much of it as you want. But every client we ever work with, well, I always say, I tell the business owner, I said, we need to install call recording.
Oh, man.
I had a fantastic conversation with the dentist this morning, and I say fantastic. It did not go well. And I was on the phone with Mr. Dentist. I said, Mr. Dentist, I know you're paying me to help you. I really want to help you. And he says, I just have pushback on the call recording. I said, well, why? He goes, because if I play the calls, it's going to create an awkward culture. And we found out that his daughter is the one answering the phones. And so I said, can we just go in and just listen to a couple? And they were rough. I mean, you know, and it was like, didn't want to know. So I said, do we have anybody you're not related to? He said, well, one more, that we got a lady we know from church. We play the calls, and they were actually not in any way, shape, or form following the script. And she was trying to convince the patients that the dental practice was super busy and that they'd shut down for the day and that people should just call back.
Wow.
So around 3:00 every day, she's going, yeah, we're all booked out, but the doctor, he's all gone. But if you could just call back on Monday. And so she was trying to make the business conform to her schedule, which involved leaving early. Aaron Entis, who you referenced earlier, who referred me to you, Aaron found that people on the phone were using his phone line to poach customers. So he had people on his phone saying, thank you for calling Shaw Homes. How can I help you? And they would answer the phone, these salespeople, and they would refer the deals over to other home builders that were willing to pay more of a commission. I mean, when you started putting call recording in place, did you discover anything exciting?
Wow. I was at a loss of why the garage was struggling so bad and why customers didn't come back. And I listened to 3 phone calls and went down and fired the manager on the spot. It couldn't have been any worse if he was, I don't know that he wasn't on purpose trying to tank my business. It was so bad. And then I realized he's representing me. I mean, just a sketchy human, bad. So it was a key to turning that thing around, because I remember you said, oh, there's a couple of rats in there. I go, no, these are good people. And I mean, you better check, because these were not good people at all. So I almost, I don't know, a couple of people stayed, but I had to turn over the whole staff. And that's when things started getting better. But I wouldn't have known if I didn't hear.
Now, again, Roy's implemented the scripts. We talk about installing sales systems. I'm talking about scripts, folks. I'm talking about pre-written emails. I'm talking about recorded calls. We have a whole system for this, and Roy has implemented that. Step number 8, you got to track how much does it cost you to gain a new customer. So every week, Roy and I, we track those numbers. We look at them. We go, okay, we spent this much on advertising. And just to be clear, this is remarkable. I want people to know this. We're down right now to spending about $150 a week on ads, which is incredible per location. Where, I mean, there are people that reach out to me, and right now I'm thinking about this automotive guy that I'm going to send this to. He's spending right now over $2,000 a week on ads, and you're now down to 150 a week on ads or less. Could you talk about just how, the idea that tracking every single week? I mean, because we've been doing it for years now. I mean, how many years have we been doing this? I mean, because we've been doing it for years now.
I think 2016, I believe.
Yeah. So we're we're like 9 years into it, and we're tracking, and you can see that number of that you were spending on ads is going down. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I did the same thing. You get a couple of slow days, and somebody tells you they can just overwhelm you with customers. It always takes a little more. But if you're not measuring, you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know if they're bringing in one. I'll never forget this young man just got out of college, and he had a marketing degree, and he's all excited about how he's going to just, explode my business. And so I think it was ClickFunnels or something. And the young man really believed it. I mean, he was passionate, and he believed what they told him. So I said, well, how much do we got to spend to know if it even works? And he gave me a number. Well, I doubled it. I said, well, let's double that number, and let's do it for a month and see if I can. And we ask where people come from, because we vet our customers at the counter. And so, and I said, let's give it a month. So he did all this stuff, and not one customer said that's where they heard about us after a month of doubling what he said it would take to make it work. But he believed it. He was sincere. He was just sincerely wrong. So again, working with somebody that actually knows what works is pretty important.
Now, step number 9, I want to brag on Roy for a second, folks, for anybody watching this. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. One thing Roy does really well is he's organized. And it's hard to build an organization unless you're organized. And I would say 90% of the clients I work with are not organized. And so when you go to the garage or RC Auto Specialist, everything has a place. Everything's organized. You can leave knowing that your vehicle is going to be repaired with quality and a focus on quality, taking care of your vehicle. That's something Roy's always done. But if you're watching today's show, I won't mention the name of the company, but there was a bakery I'd worked with for a while, and I'm not kidding. She would, every meeting, she would take a call. Clay, I got to take the call. What's going on? Sorry, someone's calling me. And then I'd say, what happened? She goes, oh, they ran out of eggs. And I'm like, okay. Next week. Clay, got to take the call real quick. Sorry. They ran out of flour. Got to take the call. They ran out of toilet paper. And I'm going, hey, we're focusing on the marketing and the accounting and the systems and the legal and the tracking. But your core thing is you make cookies and bakery items, right? How often do you run out of material? She goes, oh, every day. It's like every couple hours. It's just like zoo. So again, if you're out there today, you got to be organized. We'll help you with that. We didn't have to help Roy with that, but we do help. We most of our clients, we do have to help on that. Next is managing. Step number 10. I would argue that managing people is the hardest thing for compassionate people to do, holding people accountable to a standard of excellence. And Roy, you've done a great job of really assembling an all-star team piece by piece, almost like the NFL draft. Every year, if you have a team that's a loser, you got to go acquire a good guy, another good player, Maybe do a trade, maybe do a different. And you've built a wonderful team now. Could you talk about maybe the pain of recognizing that someone's not a good fit and yet needing to, you want to be compassionate, but you also know that if you don't fire a bad employee, the customer will fire you. Could you talk about that? Because you've really built a great team now.
Yeah, we have the best humans we've ever had, but that was on purpose. And so one thing I've learned is to hire slowly, fire quickly. If you know you've made a mistake, it really affects the whole team, the whole atmosphere of the shop. One bad guy, I don't care how much work he's putting out, it is not worth it. I believe there's a proverb says, "Get rid of the mocker, and all strife will cease." And I mean, the whole atmosphere of the shop changes. So now I've left it up to my employees. I say, if I hire somebody, I stick them in here and they don't fit our culture, you just let me know. So 2 of them lasted a week. It's not worth it. I won't do it. And like I said, we do well, but I've got good humans, no drama. Everybody shows up to work. They're family guys, but it was on purpose. I'm telling you, I've been through a few.
Now, next question I have here for you. Is, or next step number 11. You've got to create a repetitive schedule. You and your wife are really involved in missions and outreach, and I'll just kind of keep it vague there, but you guys are passionate about weekly going out and sowing seeds and investing time in ministry, and that's a big part of your schedule. Could you talk about the importance of you and your wife having a schedule that you two agree on? Because you guys have that, and a lot of clients I see, it's the husband and wife have a very different view of how the schedule should be, and rather than just agreeing to disagree or setting a schedule that works, there's a constant fight. Could you talk about just the importance of you and your wife having a schedule you both agree on?
Wow. Yeah. How can two walk together unless they be agreed? You know, she's right underneath the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost as far as any success I've had, and not blown it up 3 or 4 times. So I'm very thankful for her. So she's a high priority for me. And so we have come to an agreement about how much we're going to work and where we're going to be, and we have determined to be together. There was a season there that we couldn't, but we changed that pretty quick. So it wasn't healthy. And then I look back behind me and see how many people have been together. We've been 37 years now. And I mean, it is a huge win over any of these businesses, but it ties to those businesses. I could not have done what I've done without her back behind the scenes. You know, she's my strength. So we agree on everything. If we don't, I'm going to park it till we do, because that's that important to me. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of how we operate.
No, this is big. I'm telling you, as a business consultant, you start to see people walk in a different direction. And if they're married, that gets odd. If they're business partners, it gets odd. So you've really set a great example for that. A final couple steps here. Again, folks, if you're taking notes, I put all of them in the show notes here. The next step number 12, human resources. We talked about it a little bit, but it's hard to manage people if you don't have good people. So I would just say never stop hiring. That's one thing I obsess on. Roy, you quickly adopted that. Most business owners will fight me on the idea. They'll say, why should I always be hiring if I already have good people? Roy, what do you say to someone who says, why should I always be hiring if I already have good people?
I've lost 3 people in 1 week. So you better have some back on the bench ready to come in, because trying to find them when you're in crisis situation, you usually end up getting a bad hire or two, just out of desperation to get a human body in there, and then you have to back up and punt again. And so we have a several deep applications, people that we know, and if there's somebody really good, I'll make them a spot. I will pay them, and it looks like you're losing money. I'm not, because there will be a need, and when you need them, you can't find them. That's what I found.
Now, step number 13, folks, you got to know your numbers. We talked about that earlier, but you got to know your accounting. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. And Roy and I, we get into it. We talk about it. We look at the numbers every single week. And I'm telling you, there's little moves you can do, just a little tweak. Once you get the business to a certain level, you can do one tweak, just one little tweak. And all of a sudden, the profit, the actual money you can keep, will go up in a dramatic, impactful way. And so, Roy, I mean, what do you say for someone who's afraid of, doing a price increase despite record inflation, or somebody who's afraid to make a tweak or make a cut? What do you say about really knowing those numbers?
Yeah, we did $6 million in sales last year, and we did just call it 6% better. It was different at both shops, but average 6% better to the bottom line. Well, that's $360,000 of profit that for 6%. That's substantial numbers. That's life-changing money that is on top of what you were doing before, without even bringing any more cars, just being more efficient, cutting waste. You've had me do several things, like going through with changing credit card companies and fees and different just going through and checking all the monthly things that are automated that you're not even using anymore. I mean, and these little percentages add up at the end of the year to a big number, especially when your sales numbers start going up significantly.
Now, step number 14, I would ask anybody watching today's show, what's the purpose of having a business? I would argue that every day that we have is a gift from God, and what we do with it is a gift to God. And a business is simply a vehicle that allows you to give more, be more, make a bigger impact. And that's how I look at it. And I know, Roy, you're a Christian business owner. You don't have a sign that says Christian business owner, Roy Cogshaw, but you are. And I know that the profits that you make, you and your wife like to sow seed into good ground and support missions. Could you talk about how you view a business? Like, what's the purpose of a business at this point in your life? Like, what is the purpose of owning a business?
Yeah, at this stage of my life, I was just trying to get some money and get out of crisis, and starting the business. But we have a nonprofit that the businesses fund. It's closer to a foundation at this point. I always say you'll do more for a higher cause than you'll do for yourself. Like I work night and day and side jobs for my family. I wouldn't have worked that hard just for myself, but there's a higher purpose now with I call it doing some 10,000 years from now stuff. That's really what flips my switch now. And I'm going to do a third, but I don't need any more money, but I want to be able to give some more money, right? So that's going to require a third. Also have some really great humans that work for me, and they make really good money. They can work 5 days a week and enjoy their family. That's super important for me to have. Also, I actually enjoy being around these guys. So starting a third will give some room for movement, and everybody can move up and make more also. So that's what flips my switch.
Okay, my final two questions for you. Here we go.
Okay, all right.
When you pay me, I pay. We deliver service for you. What I know is that you and I have a meeting every week, and at that meeting time, the purpose of that meeting is to make sure that we identify what needs to be discussed. We identify, we discuss, and we solve. What am I saying? We identify the biggest limiting factor, we discuss the best way to solve it, and then we solve it. So identify, discuss, solve, IDS. We do it every week. And so the meeting doesn't need to be 2 hours. It doesn't need to be 90 minutes. The purpose is to identify what needs to be discussed, discuss it, and then solve it. And for me, it's peaceful knowing that I'm working with 160 people that I actually care about, and knowing that they're going to go out there and take those profits and do great things with it. Could you talk about just maybe the impact it's made on you, knowing that, okay, I'm going to pay this guy this amount of money. I'm not going to get a random fee or a random charge, or he's not going to, go, oops, we had 2 calls, so it's more, or wow, we didn't meet this week, so it's less. Can you talk about just knowing in your mind that you got the graphic design, the photo, the video, the web, the search, the ads, all of that is a monthly thing?
Yeah. Not too long ago, I looked at what the average percentage of sales was spent on marketing, and I'm like half of the bottom number is what spent on marketing. Obviously, my marketing's working because we're tracking it, right, and the sales growth. And as far as the SEO, and like I've messed up and didn't send money to the hosting service and crashed my website. Clay had it back up in half a day. It's really great to have somebody call, just fixes it. I can do it. I do. You do it. You do. So it's very powerful to me to have somebody that no matter what's going on, no matter what crashes, you can take care of it. And I'm very convinced that it's a great bargain. I don't know how you do what you do as cheap as you do, but it actually is super economical for me.
Now, Roy, what do you say to anybody out there that's thinking about going to thrivetimeshow.com and scheduling a free 13-point assessment? They're thinking about coming to one of our conferences to see Tim Tebow. They're thinking about maybe coming out to a conference to see an Eric Trump, or thinking about scheduling a free consultation. What do you say?
Man, if you want change, you need to change, right? And if you knew what you needed to know to change it, you would have already changed it. So it might be good to get some knowledge. I always say this: you're stuck at your level of knowledge right now. So if you don't increase that, you can't go anywhere. And especially in the area of business, most startups are technicians, right? A lot of technicians are kind of arrogant and don't think they need any help. Never even read a book on business. That was me. And then wonder why you're having trouble running one, right? So it is a huge win to actually start learning about business. And I read books now, and I value knowledge, but it was a journey that really took the lid off of me, or I'd be in crisis right now at 65 and having to twist wrenches still and be in that mode I was in when I came to you. So I would encourage everybody, even for your health, your marriage, fix it. You need to fix it.
Roy, you're the best joke giver I've ever seen. You have a delivery. It's a mastery. I'm not trying to paint you into a corner. I know you have a good joke. And
okay.
Give yourself a moment to get ready for that joke. If you're watching this right now and you don't find this funny, there's something wrong with you folks psychologically. Roy's the best joke. Every week he has a different joke. So, Roy, I'm ready.
What do you call a man with a toe growing out of his knee? Tony.
Yes. Yes. Does your wife feed you these jokes? Where do you get this endless source of jokes?
She rolls her eyes. She's not one of my biggest fans on the jokes at all, but it doesn't slow me down much.
Well, thank you. He's a comedian. He's an entrepreneur. He's a husband. He's a great dad. He's a committed Christian. I encourage everybody out there, check out his websites. He's a real guy. Roy, thank you for carving out time for us today. I really do appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Clay. Have a great day, brother.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
One of our accountants had said, you've got to meet this guy, Clay. So we ended up meeting with Clay, and he's helped us go from right before we opened the third location now to 6 locations. And so we've more than doubled our revenue. And these are ground up build gyms. And so it's not, the barrier for entry is pretty high. It's 20 plus staff at each location. So yeah, it's been a lot as far as running systems, checklists, workflows, who does what, when and how, training us on that. Clay's helped a ton. We would not be where we're at without him. So huge win.
Charles, from an ROI perspective, if someone's going to look at it and go, return on investment, I pay you $1,700 a month. Will I make more money than I'm paying you? How would you maybe tackle, or how would you respond to what kind of return on investment have you seen for the $1,700 a month you're paying?
Well, for example, Clay has got, there's no better business coach in the world that has the way he works, the way his mind works. But he's also got a team of other business coaches that have worked in lots of different industries. So he's worked in every industry. His staff has worked in every industry. He's got videographers, web designers. I mean, just for the fact of like just the website alone is worth the $1,700. Just the ability to take any of their proven systems, whether that's a marketing thing or whether that's a staffing thing, like one thing done in the month it pays for itself. And then to understand this, there's a part of where, some week you may be like, well, you know what? I'm not getting a whole lot out of this call. But the bottom line is, it's like when you read the Bible, there's times you're just reading it and then you're like, you know what? And then you read it that one time and it's like, God really speaks to your heart. And the whole truth is, it's like, there's no way that you can get that kind of value for $1,700 to have a whole team of coaches, graphic designers, web developers, anybody that has that type of knowledge, in your back pocket. And then the whole thing is run your business with being somewhat conservative. Make sure you don't run it to the edge all the time. But by doing that, you have that skill set. You have those tools on your tool belt. Yep. And I just think it's just like the cost of doing business. Like just understand it. That's what I think
there's sometimes the payment we make, I feel like, is peace of mind, even because there have been multiple times throughout the years that we will either be butting heads on something. We're super confused about something. We're fearful about something in the market's changed, and it's a quick call to Clay.
Well, Thrive Nation, it's a very special occasion because a lot of times on the Thrivetime show, I get to interview people that I am friendly with or have an acquaintance with, that kind of thing. And I enjoy that. But it's really an honor whenever I get to interview someone who I consider to be a friend or people that I consider to be friends of our family. And it's awesome when we can celebrate a success story because it's a life-giving thing. And for somebody watching today's show, if you feel you need like a checkup from the neck up, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you don't have the resources to get started, but you have the resourcefulness, maybe today's show is the show you need to hear, because this is a couple. They started this business together out of their house, and they've now grown it into a multi-million-dollar, super successful company. And I've had the opportunity to work with them in a consulting or coaching capacity over these past 5 or 6 years, and I am so excited to have them on today's show. And with that being said, Amber and Charles Cola, welcome on to the Thrivetime show. Amber, how are you?
Great. Thanks, Clay. It's awesome to be on here with you.
Yes, we are excited.
Okay, so I got to ask this real quick because people think you're a hologram. How long have we had the opportunity to work with you, or how long have we worked with you guys together from a kind of a coaching relationship?
We probably started back in 2017. 2017. Yep.
So yeah, we're looking at 7-8 years.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
coming up on 8, probably. It's a little over 7.
And from that time, I mean, you guys have experienced tremendous personal growth and business growth. I mean, could you, Charles, maybe talk about, I'm not looking for your specific financials, but could you maybe talk about maybe the size you guys have grown over these past 7 or 8 years at colafitness.com?
Absolutely. Yeah. We started off, we were getting ready to open our 3rd location, and one of our accountants had said, you've got to meet this guy, Clay. So we ended up meeting with Clay, and he's helped us go from right before we opened the third location, now to 6 locations. And so we've more than doubled our revenue. And these are ground up build gyms. And so it's not, the barrier for entry is pretty high. It's 20 plus staff at each location. So yeah, it's been a lot as far as running systems, checklists, workflows, who does what, when and how, training us on that. Clay's helped a ton. We would not be where we're at without him. So huge win.
Now, I'm going to ask you guys this story because I want you to be able to encourage somebody. I'm not sure who's going to watch this show, but I view every show as kind of a message in a bottle. So somebody's watching this show and they're going to relate to this story. And I'm going to let Amber go first because I think she'll maybe have a less rosy view of how it was. But you guys started kolawfitness.com doing personal training to individual clients in your actual home. So like your living room was where the squat rack was, or the bench press was in the kitchen, or Amber, what was that like when you started kolawfitness.com?
Well, I think when you're starting something like that, you don't see bigger picture. You're not thinking that far ahead. You're just kind of thinking you have to work, you have to survive, you've got to make money, you're doing what you love. And so with that, it was kind of more as of a survival. And also, we couldn't afford furniture to go in our formal living room and formal dining room. Yes. And so we were kind of stuck in a situation where Charles needed a place to train and he had a full clientele. And so we just were, well, why don't we find like a big universal piece, stick it in the living room because it's just an empty room. And the dining room became more of the office. And so we bought a big universal piece and threw down some rubber flooring, ripped up the carpet, and put some big mirrors on the wall. And we just started doing what we needed to do at the time with I definitely did not think it was going to be in my house for a couple of years for sure. But
yeah, a lot of it was fear of failure. I was like, I want to make sure that, I can provide for my family. And we were trying to every lead I had, I'd follow up with every client I trained, want to make sure that I gave them good results. And next thing you know, we have about 160 clients coming in and out of the door a week. And it's me and about 4 or 5 other trainers training out of our living room. And so it became a revolving door of fitness. And then Amber also did some hair. So she had a hair salon in the back of the house. So it's like a training studio in the front of the house and then a hair salon in the back of the house. So yeah.
Now,
the win.
Now, I want to share this story because I don't know if I've ever shared this story with you, but I think our listeners need to hear this because your story is better than mine. But let me just show this to the listeners real quick here. If we go to 111th and Memorial in Tulsa, Oklahoma, my wife and I, we were 20 years old-ish, and I remember I was so excited to be able to build our house. I remember telling my wife, honey, we can afford to build a house. We are going to build a house, a brand new house. She was so excited. I remember we were driving down Riverside. She was like, we're going to buy a house? I go, yeah. She's like, we're going to build a house? I'm going, yeah, because we're young couple. We'd just been married a couple years. Right here at 111th and Memorial, I found a builder named Rob Brewer who did a phenomenal job. I would hire him again. And this is a true story. So I built this house from scratch. And so my neighbor comes by, Wendy, God bless her. I'm not going to mention her last name. Wendy comes by and she's like, hey, what are you doing? I go, what do you mean? Because I'm having like 40 couples a week that are walking up to my front door, hanging a right at my office. And there's probably 8 DJ vans in my backyard. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm going, well, what do you mean what I do? She's like, this is a residential neighborhood. What are you doing? And I said, well, I'm running a business. She said, you can't run a business here. So I had back here in the backyard, no kidding, I had 8 different vans back there. And then neighbors kept asking me if I was running drugs. I mean, people were concerned because the first DJ would come to load up gear at 4 in the morning, and our last guy would come home at 3 in the morning. And it was just a wild thing. So I got to ask you with the gym, Amber, how early were people coming to work out, to do squats and bench press and cardio? What time were they showing up? How many people were showing up?
Oh, yeah. So Charles he's relentless and he'll fill any hour he can. And so he would start as early as 5 a.m. with his first client. And, sometimes it would last until about 10 o'clock at night. And so it was just a revolving door. And we always blocked out the middle of the afternoon at 2 o'clock every afternoon. And him and I, and as we added staff, we would all work out together. So it became this big, workout session together. It was awesome.
And this is a real thing. Now, Amber, I'm not looking for anything super salacious, but I mean, did you ever have awkward situations? I mean, because you're sleeping there, you're living there. Do you guys ever have just like, because I remember with the DJ business, my wife about once a week there for a while, she would come downstairs and one of my DJs would get, Clay, where's the bathroom? I'd say, right there. And they would walk into our master bedroom and I'm like, get out of there. That's my bedroom, you sicko. I mean, did you ever have just weird client interactions?
Oh, yeah, totally. From, our kitchen became like the staff break room. And so all of a sudden I've got everybody's lunches in my fridge. And I remember one day a guy had went to get the barbecue sauce out of the fridge and just drops it. And it just shatters all over the kitchen floor. But his client was here. So he looks at me kind of like, and I was like, just go. I got like, so I'm cleaning up barbecue sauce out of the kitchen. One morning I had gotten out of the shower and I come out of the bathroom, which is at the top of the stairs. And I'm just making that short little jagged over to my bedroom door. And so I have my hair in a towel and a robe on, and I open the door, and right there at the bottom of the stairs, Charles has one of the clients doing calf raises. And they just, good morning. And I thought, get this out of my house. So
yeah.
The trainers napping on the couch between clients. And our middle son was in pre-K at the time. And so he'd come home half the day and he'd sit on the couch. He was just so little, his feet would just stick straight off the couch. And he'd try and watch cartoons. And there would be someone on like a ab mat on the floor right in front of the TV doing crunches. That's right. And so he's just watching his little cartoons as someone's doing crunches in front of him. And so, the whole family was in on it.
I just remember when I was building DJconnection.com, I would train my DJs out of my house. So we would practice announcements like, ladies and gentlemen, coming up in just a moment, we're going to introduce the bride and the groom. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, get ready for the And we would practice, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, we're going to be cutting the cake. Once again, we got the bride, we got the groom, we got a knife. It should be exciting. And I'm practicing, and they have a script, and I'm practicing. So adult males are in my house, and we're practicing introducing, because, we grew DJ Connection to do 4,000 weddings a year. So I'm training 30 disc jockeys every week. So Havana, my oldest, who's now 20, she starts running around in the office going, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, the cutting of the cake, because she had heard it so much. She's like, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, the Soul Train line. She knew, because it was like, and I don't think if you're watching today's show and these stories, you can't relate to it. That's okay. But I'm just trying to make sure we're getting this idea. This is a real couple that I would now classify as a super success story, but they had to start somewhere. And it's not about resourcefulness. It's not about resources. It's about resourcefulness. Again, it's not about resources. It's about resourcefulness. Look at the backyard. I turned half my backyard into a concrete slab so that we could park all the vans back here. I mean, look at all the trees I planted to block the view. So now you look at Co-Law Fitness and you go, wow, this is a super successful company. Wow, I want to be the next Co-Law Fitness. Wow, these guys are really doing it. I want to be a colawfitness.com. I'll get the website to pull up in just a second. And people always come to me and they say, Clay, what do I need to do? What's the most important thing? I just had a guy today, huge ministry, multi-million-dollar, massive ministry, called me and said, what's the one thing I can do to grow my ministry? And I said, buddy, I'm going to send you today's show. There are 14 things that we need to do, and a lot of details on those 14. So we're going to go step by step on today's show. I'll go back and forth between Charles and Amber, and for sake of time, we'll just go back and forth rapid fire. So here we go. And Charles, by the way, you get 60 seconds on the clock for each answer. So here we go. Box number one, you have to figure out your revenue goals. You just have to know your revenue goals. You have to know your revenue goals. What are your gross revenue goals? What are your weekly revenue goals? What are your annual revenue goals? You have to know your revenue goals. Charles, why do you have to know your revenue goals?
Yes, you have to know your revenue goals, so you know if you're going to be making money or not. And for us, we want to make sure that we're staying bankable, that we can open more locations. Our gyms are a ministry for us. We want to make sure that we continue to expand and making sure we got at least a 20% profit margin off of all of our expenses to income over expenses. And we know how many memberships we have to sell. We know how many clients that we have to service to hit those goals for our set overhead costs. And so you got to know how many units of items you have to sell every week, every day. And so we track that stuff. And for us, we have
Natalie?
A lot of it's recurring revenue. But the whole point is we want to make sure that we have enough of the payable, viable buyers in the system to continue to grow.
And you track this stuff, and so we've got wonderful members of our team. We've got a young member of our team named Natalie who's learning all of this because she's developing into a coach. And when you work with a new client, a lot of times the client's going to have a bias to focus on just marketing, just branding, but you have to know these numbers. Amber, anything else you want to talk about as far as the numbers? Because I know your husband is passionate about fitness and you are as well, but why do you have to focus on the numbers and not just marketing or not just branding or not just social media? Why do you have to focus on those numbers?
Well, I think the numbers, it's like the steering wheel that steers the ship. I mean, if you don't understand the numbers, you have no idea where you're going. So I think that's probably the biggest thing. Like it leads the whole way. And I think a lot of people tend to do, I want to do the marketing, or I just want to perform the service. I think a lot of it because people are scared of numbers. I think they feel like numbers are overwhelming and they try to make numbers way too difficult. So I think that's the biggest.
This is such wisdom, folks. I'm telling you, if you're not familiar with colawfitness.com, go to their website. These guys give away a Bible. Every time they sell a new membership, they set aside a portion of the funds to give away a Bible to first-time members at their gym. It's it's a ministry, it's a business. It checks all those boxes. Let's move on to box number 3. Define the number of hours you're willing to work. Now, Amber, you happen to be married to a man who's willing to work every hour of the day if need be. I will say this, though. Most of my clients, if I had to think about my 160 clients I work with, and I had to think about the average client, 90% of them are not willing to work as hard as you guys. Most of my clients are willing to work 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week. Some will work 60 hours a week, but nobody is willing to go sprint from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m., 10 p.m. every day if need be. Your husband is willing to do that. Why is it important for you guys, Charles, to define the hours that you're going to work, the hours that you're not going to work, block out time for the family cruise, for the family trip? Why is that an important box there, Charles?
Yeah.
That way, my wife will stay married to me. And well, I'm like you. I like to just go. And then we take off and we go to church on Sunday. It's important for us for us to hold the Sunday as a Sabbath, as a day off. Other than that, I like to work. I like you talked about vacation, to vacate or to leave something. I love to work. I love to build the systems and build the documents and train staff, build the systems and so on. But we do have to make sure that once a quarter we try to look at taking time off. Go ahead.
Right. Well, I would say the biggest thing that we always talk about in marriage, family, and work, expectations and boundaries. Those two things have to be very clear all the time. So as long as he understands what my expectations are and I need him to fulfill a husband role in addition to working, as long as he understands that these are my expectations and then these are my boundaries. And as long as we communicate that, then we're good.
I'll say one more thing is that for us, we've kind of at the spot to where, we just work on the business, not in the business. So we don't actually do the day-to-day stuff, but we work on the business systems, checklists, workflows, training, coaching people remotely because we do live in Florida. Our clubs are in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, and Kansas. And so running remotely and running all that stuff, we've got to kind of say, how do we want to live our lives? Like you'd say, Charles, how do you really want to live it? You got to kind of map out and clearly define that. For us, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those days are just all in on Zoom calls, training, coaching, working with staff. And so those days are really, really full days. And then the rest of the time, like on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, those are all lighter days that we don't block in a lot of meetings. It's like no meetings that we plan, but I'm still working on things that I want to work on, but I'm not leveraged to having to. So I've kind of created my 3-day work week that's like super long, and then the rest of the time I don't have meetings, I don't get held hostage on a lot of stuff, and people have to kind of have a gatekeeper to get to me. But other than that, that's how I've tried to map that out so that I can continue to mastermind and kind of grow the brand and have some meta perspective on how I want to continue to grow. So
there's so much. Again, for folks, if you want to learn entrepreneurship, this is real people. If you're in the Florida area and you're looking for a job, if you're in the Joplin, Missouri area and you're looking for a career, not just a job, Kolaw Fitness is a company that's going places. I'm not prophetic. I'm not claiming to have some view of the future. I just see patterns. And I work with clients and I help them implement patterns that work. And I also know of the clients that'll work. Nothing works unless you work, right? So nothing will work unless you work. And I look at the Kolaw of family and I look at the fuel that you put into the business and the diligence that you bring. And I'm telling you, folks, this is a brand that's going somewhere. If you're looking for a career, check it out, kolawfitness.com. Box number 4 and 5, these kind of fit in together. Box number 4 is you have to determine your unique value proposition. That's a unique thing. But what is it that makes you unique? What is it that separates you from the competition? If you're watching today's show, let's think about your website, your print piece, your auto wraps, your business cards. Let's think about everything about your business. Let's think about the sights, the sounds, the smell, the ambiance, the employees you have. What is it that makes you different from the competition? What is it that makes Chick-fil-A successful when there are many other fast food chicken restaurants? What is it that makes Quick Trip super successful when there are so many gross, nasty, dirty convenience stores? What is it that makes Chick-fil-A successful? What is it that makes Quick Trip successful? What is it? What is the secret sauce that allows Brad Stevens, the coach of the Boston Celtics, to bring out a winning lineup year after year? Brad Stevens took a dysfunctional Butler College basketball team and turned them into a top 4 basketball team. Think about this. He took a college called Butler, the size of Oral Roberts University, and took them to the Final Four multiple times. And then he takes that same recipe and goes to the NBA, and they win a championship, and he's putting out a winner year after year. What is the secret sauce that allowed Phil Jackson to win year after year? Michael Jordan couldn't win a championship without Phil Jackson. He played a lot of seasons without Phil Jackson. He only won his championships with Phil. Kobe Bryant never won a championship without Phil Jackson. By the way, Kobe Bryant played a lot of seasons without Phil Jackson. What is that magic formula? A big part of it is you have to understand your unique value proposition. So, Amber, what is it that makes Kolaw Fitness unique versus other, fitness companies?
Oh, for us, it's culture, hands down. It's culture all day long. And we worked really hard at our first location to set the culture and make it what we wanted it to be. We wanted a fitness center that everybody could come be a part of. And I mean, not everybody likes it. But it's definitely our culture. And that was something we knew we had to be able to duplicate when opening other locations. And so that is probably the number one piece that we train, develop, encourage, that we're the biggest part of the company that we are still a part of is the culture part.
Yep. And that's the big part. I'm going to just kind of jump on a little bit more. We're unapologetic in our Christian component to that. Think if Planet Fitness is the McDonald's of gyms, Kolaw Fitness is the Chick-fil-A. And what I mean by that is we are a strong Christian culture. We hire and we look for people that match that. They don't have to be a Christian, but they do have to align with those values. All of Christianity summed up in one word is the word agape. That's an unconditional love. We want to make sure that we actually hire people that are into customer service, like likes people.
Serving.
Who'd have thought customer service? We're going to find people that actually like to serve people. And so we really vet that pretty heavily on the front side, on the onboarding, with our, like our Christian culture. We play a video, we talk about who we are, we talk about the Christian values, devotion to God, discipline in living, denial of self, dream great dreams for God's glory, determination to stay this course. So the Christian side of it is kind of strong. So either people lean in or lean back. And so when we do group interviews, this is where you've taught us a lot of great systems. You see people lean in and see people lean back. So when everybody's on the boat rowing in the same direction and they really match that value set, the culture is just better. And when you hire people that actually like people, like hire people that like people, they want to acknowledge your presence, close the gap, give them a fist bump, a high five, make somebody feel like the highlight of the day when they walk through that door. So we train people on those systems. So we took the culture that we did when we first opened the club and we defined it into actual ways that we can role play and script it with our staff so that you have not a purple hair, McDonald's, perpetually distracted, crayon mark tattoo person. You have a person opposed to like a McDonald's, somebody that runs up to your car like a Chick-fil-A that's you got their polo on and says, "My pleasure." So that's where we have to be very, very, very specific on how we do culture differently than the competition who's just, scaling out like crazy.
Yeah.
But people, like the greatest currency in life is how you make somebody else feel. We want to make other people feel like the highlight of the day and hire people that are sincere. They're just genuine, that truly like people. If you do that well, you have to lock the doors to keep people out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, folks, this is so important. I talked to a guy the other day who applied to work for your business, true story. And he's kind of a gremlin. I know him because he didn't get hired by a friend of mine. And so a friend of mine's like, hey, I didn't hire this guy. He's kind of a gremlin. I said, what do you mean gremlin? He's like, yeah, he's just kind of a curmudgeon, kind of a negative guy, Debbie Downer. And, he's got a big background in fitness, though. And he's into fitness and he played at, sports at a high level, and he'd love to come work for you, Clay. And I go, okay. And he's like, yeah, I guess he applied for the co-law guys a couple years ago, didn't get the job. And I'm going, interesting. And I knew that and I met the guy. I'm like, this guy, I understand why you didn't hire him, and I didn't hire him either. And I'm just telling you, have certain standards. And if people aren't up to those standards, they can come back and reapply later after they turn that frown upside down. But you have a certain standard there. Now, box number 6, the three-legged marketing stool. At Co-Law Fitness, with every business we work with, every business that I work with, what we do is we develop a three-legged marketing stool. Now, I'll give you a moment, Charles and Amber, to reflect on this, and maybe this is true for you, maybe not. But a lot of my clients that come into my life, I think about Stacy Purcell, longtime client, great lady. I think about Shaw Homes, shawhomes.com. We helped Shaw Homes grow from $14 million a year to $150 million a year. I think about satellite phones. Tina, her company Sat123. We've helped them grow to $100 million a year of sales. I think about OxyFresh, oxifresh.com. We've helped them grow now to 500 plus locations. And every single time I sit down with a business owner, they have not a three-legged marketing stool. No. They have a variety of things that might work. And through tracking, we start to figure out what doesn't work. And so with Stacy Purcell, with her wonderful business, we found out that LinkedIn didn't work 100% of the time, thus saving her $8,000 a month by turning it off. I just had a client this week, true story, we found he was spending $4,000 a week on YouTube ads, Instagram ads, and TikTok ads. Got a lot of clicks, got a lot of views, no leads. Another client, I'm just a stream of consciousness. Another client of mine, they were doing mailers, getting zero response. Another client of mine was doing billboards to the tune of $6,000 a month between all their locations. And as you look at the different businesses and you track, you can really, really become much more profitable by nailing down a three-legged marketing stool. Could you talk about that, Amber? Maybe the impact it's had or hasn't had, tracking the results, getting rid of what doesn't work and focusing on what does work?
Yeah, well, I would say none of that is my part of the business. And I'm so thankful. I hate marketing. But what I would say to that is that has everything to do with, like we were talking about, your numbers and the tracking. So you're talking about tracking these things. That's my side, the financial side. And I want to know that when the money's going out, that return is coming back, right? And so I do that side of it we talk about a marketing budget and watching that and holding true to that and watching those numbers and watching, the revenue that comes back from that marketing. So you may be able to talk more on the marketing. That's your.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we've tracked where they come from. Sometimes you do get clicks, or you do have, like, sometimes Facebook shows you're making, but it's really not getting people to walk through the door and convert people into members and convert people into higher ticket items. And so you really want to make sure that what you're spending money on is actually quantifying out into dollars. And so Clay's really been good with us to track that. We've done that for years. And so we can really kind of see in our industry, we market, in a 5-mile radius, really heavy. That's kind of our ideal and likely buyers within that 5-mile radius or a 12-minute drive time. We target those. We see what marketing works best. And a lot of times it's the same proven stuff that Clay teaches with a lot of his clients, is really seeing to making sure that you're dominating on certain platforms. And I can go into that. But the whole point is Clay has done it in every industry. And when we follow the system, track it correctly, we can monetize our marketing dollars a whole lot better. And so there's ways you want to get in front of your ideal and likely buyer. We make sure we got the right product offering in front of the right ideal and likely buyer. And the things that Clay's been doing with his clients over the last 7 years with us, it doesn't change much. There's a few little things that adjust, but it's a proven system, and that's what works. And we've done that. We've gone from 3 locations to 6, and we've more than doubled our revenue.
Right.
So it's been a huge win.
Well, I think sometimes people want to market in a certain way because that's the cool thing to do. Like, I want to be on TikTok.
Right.
If TikTok doesn't pay me, if it's not paying my bills, I could care less.
Yeah.
I mean, I can watch TikTok on my off time, but I'm not going to put my marketing dollars into it just because that's what everybody else is doing. And I think another part of that is everybody has marketing advice for you. Everybody thinks they're some marketing guru, because they see ads. And I don't think that's true either.
Now, I'm going to ask you this, Charles, and I'm not ready for your answer yet. I got to mentally prepare myself for this, but you do not have the ability to not be honest here. Okay. So, a guy called me here today and I thought, man, I'm going to send this to him right away. Okay. Guy reaches out to me. He's in the construction space. Okay. And he goes, this happens every day, by the way, but he says, what would a relationship look like if I hired you guys as my coach? If I hired you, Clay, and your team, what does that look like? And I said, well, we charge you $1,700 a month. So it's less money than hiring a minimum wage employee. That's what it is. We have a weekly meeting, and we follow a proven system. And anyway, and I said, there's accountability. There's kind of three parts to it. One is we have a team that helps you get your photography, your video, your web, your search engine done for you, all those things. The second is we provide coaching down a proven path. And then the third is we have workshops every a couple months so you can kind of get a tune-up. And I said, Mr. Client, Mr. Potential Client who I've known forever, I said, Clay Stairs describes me as the ass man. And he's like, the ass man? Ooh. And I said, yeah, Clay Stairs, longtime client of mine. He's been a client of mine for like 15 years. He literally tells people that I'm his ass man. And they go, what? Right. He goes, Clay has helped me grow my company, claystairs.com. He's helped me get into political office. But he kind of is like an irritant who follows up on the same things every week until they get done. So I wanted to ask you, Charles, how would you describe what the coaching relationship looks like for somebody out there that's saying, what is it like to work with, specifically me and my team?
Well, to shoot you straight, I mean, Clay's highest desire isn't always your comfort in that coaching. His highest desire is your continued development, that you do hit your goals for financial. And a good coach, think of a good coach. A good coach tells you what you need to hear, because he doesn't just care about the comfort in the room or the comfort of the conversation. He cares about your character development, your personal development, to becoming the better leader. And if you want to run a great company, you have to be a great leader. You have to be the avatar. You have to be the great person. And Clay has really pushed that in me. And for me, like I thought I've always needed that. And I was just like, okay, Charles, stay humble, stay coachable. And that's the biggest thing is most business owners, they don't have the ability to keep a humble, coachable heart and be willing to grow. When you work with somebody that has a proven system, they've worked in every industry, they've got a team of videographers, graphic designers, web developers, people that will help you build the back end of your business correctly, the proven systems of continuous hiring, of staff team, like group hiring, that you always have staff ready to go. Somebody in the bullpen, so I'll take it. You always have continuous training, staff. You're never held hostage because there's somebody that doesn't know a skill set. You can always replace somebody. Because if you don't create a system, you're going to be a limited resource. And Clay creates the systems, helps you with document creation, file organization, and make sure you got that stuff so you have a proven template. It's really more like a franchisable prototype that you can handle the lowest skill set. So great people are great, but Clay's been really good at shooting me straight. If you have a humble, coachable heart and you're willing to grow, and you take 2 or 3 action items every week, next thing you know, 50 weeks, 52 weeks in the year, you've got a bunch of systems. You got a way better website. You got checklists, workflows. You got staff following systems. You got backup for each position. Because if you don't have people in the bullpen, you're going to be held hostage. And so you want to make sure that you got the right systems, checklists, and personnel ready to go. And to run 6 different businesses in 4 different states, from Florida in the Midwest, so we don't live there, we have to have good systems, checklists, workflows, and so on, and making sure people are holding to that. Clay's been really great for helping set up those systems. So yeah, but it's to be honest, it's not always, the conversations are definitely sometimes challenging, but understanding that both parties, me as the client, him as the coach, is really trying to have the highest desire to make you grow into a better person and to help your company grow and be better. And for me, that's a good coach. And that's why I like working with Thrive and Clay. So, yeah.
Amber, I wanted to tap into your wisdom on this. There was a statement that was made years ago by Robert Kiyosaki, and it really resonated with me. I heard this about 20 years ago, but he said, amateurs don't have a coach. Professionals do have a coach. And at the time I thought, you know what, from a legal perspective, I probably need a coach or mentor to help me. So I hired wintersking.com, and I've used that company for 10 plus years. It's really helped me. I thought to myself, from an accounting perspective, I need probably to have her a coach. So I hired CCK. And so in the areas where I want to improve, I really do firmly believe in having a coach. When I wanted to become a better speaker, I hired Carlton Pearson, and I worked with Carlton for as long as he would work with me, because at the time he was the top televangelist in America, and he was a phenomenal verbal communicator. And so, but it wouldn't have worked if I wasn't coachable and if he wasn't willing to coach. And you guys have done such a great job over these years implementing, and I just see the future is so bright here. So when we look at your website now, could you talk about just that weekly meeting and making those little iterations, and every week making it a little better? Because I think some people want to get rich quick. They want to become successful in 10 minutes. They want to ready, set, let's go. But you guys, every week we go to kolofitness.com. Every week we enhance the website. Every week we enhance the scripts. Every week we enhance the value proposition. Every week we're doing little tweaks that are improving the brand. Could you talk about this, that mindset of that weekly improvement?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, your numbers, you have to have good feedback tools, some key performance KPIs or key performance things you look at for sales over cancellations and how much dollars you're spending on marketing. When we track that on a regular basis, we can see that we're doing well or not doing well. We make pivots. We get coaching feedback from you on best practices. And one thing is that you've not just worked in our industry, but lots of industries. And having a team of people, a team of coaches that say, hey, this is what's working, this is what's working, it's super valuable. And so, like I mean, I've got an MBA in school, but I'm telling you, like, it's real life is so much more important, and having good people that have good feelers. It's like you're only as good as your team, and Clay brings a whole team to your team. And anyways, we have a weekly meeting. Our weekly meeting, we look at, like, what are the key things that impact us? It's going to be signups over cancels. What are those signups? Which ones upgraded to higher tier options, whether that's membership, higher tier membership options, or whether that's tiering up into higher services like fitness coaching, like one-on-one coaching, or fitness training, or nutrition coaching, or group training. But getting people into those things and understanding the scripts, how to role play that over and over again, making sure your staff understands how to communicate effectively with the customer, role play until that socially awkward, young person can totally get it, and they understand how to do it, until the critical thinking phase has gone away. They know how to do it. Now you got staff that knows how to communicate well, how to show the product offering, benefits over cost, and then show them that, hey, if you don't do it, this is what won't happen. And you want to show them that you're going to really change their lives and save their life, add years to their life, quality to your years by changing new habits. And when people see that value, you've got the right staff articulating it, you close a lot of deals, you upgrade things, and you change a lot of lives.
Well, one thing, Clay, I think with the coaching is it's been beneficial. It's kind of like you're our blind side or a blind spot coach. This is what we've created. There's a lot of emotions attached to it. It's what we love. It's what feeds our family. And so we can become very emotionally charged. And I think you're super helpful to kind of bring us back in and go, hey, like, so you kind of keep us focused, separating the emotions from it. And I've heard a lot of people say to you, or, in conversations we'll have, and they'll say, yeah, but you don't understand landscaping. It's not about understanding landscaping. We don't talk fitness every week when we meet. But it's about, it's about business, and it's about where we're going, and you really help keep us on track. There's that accountability, like you talked about.
You guys are just
super valuable. Your set of eyes is super valuable.
Yeah.
I'll just say this. I mean, kolofitness.com. If you're looking for a career, folks, I'm telling you, check out kolofitness.com. Now, point number 7, sales conversion. We have to have scripts, recorded calls, one sheets, lead trackers. What? We need to have sales scripts, recorded calls, all the visuals in the store. We call that internal marketing. There's external marketing, marketing to your ideal and likely buyers, but internal marketing, letting your current gym members know that you offer personal training or group fitness. Box number 8, you have to have a sustainable customer acquisition cost. What? You have to know, what does it cost you to land a new customer? Box number 9, you've got to create repeatable systems. When you clean the bathrooms every day, when you clean the showers every day, when you clean the locker rooms every day, when you clean the equipment every day, when you clean all these things things multiple times a day. When you change the light bulbs every day. When you have to maintain the fitness equipment every day. When you have to hire people every day. You have to build repeatable systems or your head will explode. You got to have checklists and processes. Box number 11, you have to manage people. Manage people. What? This just in. We have to manage people. We got to hire people, manage people. How do you hire, inspire, train, retain? We have to do it. Box number 11, you have to build a sustainable schedule. What is the schedule that your company will keep? What hours will you be open? What kind of shifts do you have? What kind of org chart? Who's in charge? Who isn't? How do you deal with somebody that doesn't want to follow the systems? Because this just in, a customer will fire you if you won't fire your bad employees. In box number 12, you got to have a high standard with the A players, the B players. You got to coach up the B players to become A players. You got to coach those A players to become future leaders. You got to coach the C players out into another job or to the local bus station. You got to get them out of your life or they will ruin your business. And then box number 13, you got to make sure you're making money. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. Box number 14, you have to sit down every day and say, what does God want me to do? If every day is a gift, what does God want me to do? If every day is a gift from God, what does God want me to do with my faith, my family, my finances, my fitness, my friendship, my fun, my focused time? What does God want me to do with this day? That's all these things we have to think about there. And I'm telling you, folks, everything we're talking about on today's show, it wouldn't matter if Kolaw Fitness was not obsessed with wowing the customers. Charles Kolaw and Amber Kolaw are obsessed with helping you take your fitness to the next level. If you're out there today and you are in Joplin, Missouri, you're in Texas, you are in all the different markets they're in, go to kolawfitness.com. You can see the markets they're in. I'm telling you, these guys are obsessed with wowing customers. So I'll go to you, Amber, then I'll go to you, Charles. Everything we talked about doesn't work if you scam your customers. Everything we talked about doesn't matter if you don't wow your customers. Could you talk about why at the core, even though we're going over all this business stuff, all these details, at the end of the day, you guys at Kolaw Fitness have to wow the customers. Why is that so important, Amber?
Well, I think for us, it's important because we love people. And everybody needs a belonging and worth, and they need to feel important, and they need to feel cared for. And like, that's our passion. We just love loving on people. That's what made Charles such a phenomenal trainer when that was the initial start of the whole company. It was just his desire to help people and his love for them. And that was the same reason, a million years ago that I did hair. So I think for us, that's just what we're passionate about. We're passionate about people feeling like they are loved and they have value. And if we can pass that on through all of our front desk staff, if we can open more locations and bring in that many more people in these communities to feel loved, and, excuse me, and also spread the gospel at the same time, let them know God loves you, And so that's really what drives our passion in the coaching and development, even of our staff.
Now, Charles Cole, I got two final questions for you, and your wife can one-up you. So here we go, two final questions.
Yes,
There's
sir.
somebody out there right now, they're thinking about coming to one of our in-person workshops. They know Tim Tebow's going to be there. They know Eric Trump will be there. They know that you might be there. But maybe if they haven't been to a workshop in the past, how would you describe the in-person 2-day interactive workshops? How would you describe them, sir?
It's raw and real. I mean, if you really want to if you really, really, really want to build a company, not just get like if you go to school, you get a business degree, they would say Clay's program is, business without the BS. There's no bull crap. He tells you the proven system, real proven systems that have grown and scaled hundreds, if not thousands of companies, add millions, we are millions of dollars more in revenue because of these systems that we've implemented. And we've been able to scale and not have to actually work in the business. We work on the business, just the business system. So we can live in Florida. We're definitely engaged with our staff that runs these locations, and they're great lieutenants. But we have the systems, we have the checklists, we've got the workflows, and we have the systems that we can hold people to. We've retained the right talent. We've got really people in the bullpen for every position, so they aren't held hostage to happen to do that. But all that to say, it's funny. He's very, Clay's pretty much like a comedian. It's hilarious to listen to. If you're willing to be coachable, if you're willing to have a humble and coachable heart that's willing to grow, he'll show you proven processes. There's going to be a pathway that you can be successful. And if you're a diligent doer and you just do 1 or 2 action items every week with your coach, the whole thing is this, being more of a marathoner than a sprinter when you're working with a coach. Just do your 2 or 3 action items, and that 2 or 3, if you times that by 52 weeks, that's 150. Next time, you got a way better website. You got a way better lead funnel. You got way better staff hired.
Yep.
You've got systems, checklists, workflows, all document created into mind-freeing templates, sales flows, training and development of staff, all that. So you got people in the bullpen for each position, and you're no longer being held hostage as an owner, and you've got a proven system. So that's Clay and his team.
Well,
So, yeah.
I'll one up you. I will one up him this one time. Like there's truly nothing more exciting than to come to the conference. And we've been to almost every conference you've had for the last 7 to 8 years. And it is completely refreshing. I always get something new out of it. It's very practical. You're not sitting in this huge like ballroom with want speakers that you feel like are trying to sell you something and you're trying to stay awake. And that's not the case at all. It's kind of a circus with a whole lot of, there's a whole lot to take home. Even if you go to the conference and you decide, hey, this is not for me right now, or coaching is not for me, hands down, you will leave with practical business application items.
Now, final question I have for you guys. Just like Koloff Fitness, I mean, you put your name right there on the brand Koloff Fitness. You can't really go to thrivetimeshow.com without seeing my cranium. And so I take a lot of pride in what I do and wowing our customers. But for somebody out there, in particular, this guy today who's in the construction space, who's like, hey, what would coaching look like for me? Or is coaching for me? He's reaching out. Charles, what do you say? What kind of impact has the coaching that we've had with you guys over these past 7 or 8 years made on the impact or the success? Or what kind of impact has the coaching made on KoloffFitness.com?
Well, I want to say first off, personally, I've developed a great friendship with some really great people. And I thought that's been huge for me. So that's personally. And to know people that are in the same type of pressure that you have as running a company, running a business, to have people that are intelligent and they care as a friend, that is huge. That's the number one personally. And then professionally, to have a whole bullpen of a whole data set of lots of different industries, best practices, whether that's, generally it's either a sales issue, like you don't have enough sales, or then it's a staffing issue, you don't have the right staff, or whether it's a scaling it, how do I, build this into a franchisable prototype? It's all stuff that they've done over and over and over again. And to where you have like a cognitive dissonance, like a mental disease with understanding it, they don't. And when you have somebody that gives you peace because it is something they've done before, it's priceless. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I would say that you were talking about it hasn't just affected us in our business, but it has affected us in our personal life too, because all of these things that you learn can be rolled over into your personal life.
Yeah.
So that's been huge. And like Charles was talking about, the connections that we've made with other business owners. Clay, you said at the very first conference we went to, your network is your net worth.
Amen.
And that is hands down. If you're hanging out with the old friends that have unsuccessful businesses, and you're hanging out with the old people who are complaining about having to work an 8-hour day, if you're spending your time with them and, it's just going to break the bank to go to Chili's for dinner, that you're going to stay there. You're going to stay in that influence of people. And every conference we meet new people, and we've got some of the most awesome friends that own businesses across the country, from the cheesecake store to a pizza shop, right? To dog training, to we've got some of our friends that live in cities that we have gyms and they're members at our clubs. And it's just it's so powerful. It gives us a whole community to bounce ideas off of and get encouragement from.
Charles, from an ROI perspective, if someone's going to look at it and go, return on investment, I pay you $1,700 a month. Will I make more money than I'm paying you? How would you maybe tackle, or how would you respond to, what kind of return on investment have you seen for the $1,700 a month you're paying?
Well, for example, Clay has got, there's no better business coach in the world that has the way he works, the way his mind works. But he's also got a team of other business coaches that have worked in lots of different industries. So he's worked in every industry. His staff has worked in every industry. He's got videographers, web designers. I mean, just for the fact of like just the website alone is worth the $1,700. just the ability to take any of their proven systems, whether that's a marketing thing or whether that's a staffing thing, like one thing done in the month it was pays for itself. And then to understand this, there's a part of where, some week you may be like, well, you know what, I'm not getting a whole lot out of this call. But the bottom line is, it's like when you read the Bible, there's times you're just reading it and then you're like, you know what, and then you read it that one time and it's like God really speaks to your heart. And the whole truth is, it's like there's no way that you can get that kind of value for $1,700 to have a whole team of coaches, graphic designers, web developers, anybody that has that type of knowledge, in your back pocket. And the whole thing is run your business with being somewhat conservative. Make sure you don't run it to the edge all the time. But by doing that, you have that skill set. You have those tools on your tool belt.
Yep.
And I just think it's just like the cost of doing business. Like just understand it. That's what
I think there's sometimes the payment we make, I feel like, is peace of mind, even because there have been multiple times throughout the years that we will either be butting heads on something. We're super confused about something. We're fearful about something in the market's changed, and it's a quick call to Clay. And so that quick call to Clay, and he's outside the situation and he has other data points. I mean, we've had times that Clay, you got a quick response and you can tell us and direct us real quickly, and we're right off the phone. And there's other times you'll go, I'll call you right back. And Clay will jump in and he'll call his other contacts and get back with us. Sometimes it takes longer, but there are times when you feel that way, when you're like, is this worth it? I don't feel like we're doing much right now, or we're not growing. Inevitably something like that will come up, and like, that's our peace of mind. Like you're like a crucial team player,
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to serve you guys, and for everybody's watching right now, I encourage you, if you're looking for a career. Now, if you're looking for a job, don't fill out the form, but if you're looking for a career, go to colawfitness.com, because if you live in Joplin, Missouri, Charles, Dallas, Texas, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, Amber, we live in Topeka, Kansas. If you're out there, Arlington, if you're out there, go to colawfitness.com if you're looking for a career and not just a job. Thank you, too, for carving out time with your busy schedule.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thanks,
awesome.
Clay.
Thank you, Clay.
Awesome.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Clay, my honor to be on your show. And thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learned from you. So congratulations.
Sean, guess what's happening June 5th and 6th right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem?
We are probably going to have an amazing business conference here at Tulsa, Jerusalem.
Yes, we're joined by Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is going to be joining us right here at the Thrivetime Show World Headquarters, June 5th and 6th. He's a very successful football player, obviously a Heisman Award winner, but he's also a very successful entrepreneur. Now, when you work with real clients, Sean, clients you really work with to help them grow their companies, do you ever hear a business owner tell you that they didn't have time to get something done?
Every day.
How often is not having enough time a problem for business owners?
All the time. It's like maybe 90% of the issues as people are trying to grow their company.
Well, Tim Tebow is going to come join us here at the in-person Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshop, and he's going to teach us time management and his approach to personal self-discipline and getting things done. Also at the workshop, I'll put up on the website so people can see it here. Also at the 2-day interactive workshop, Sean, we are going to be, there it is. We're going to be teaching accounting, systems creation, marketing, human resources, how to hire, inspire, train, and retain great people, accounting, social media advertising, search engine optimization. Sean, what's the area where most clients ask you for help the most? Is it generating leads? Is it hiring people? What's the biggest issue that most business owners have by default before they come to one of our workshops?
Well, I think it's management, because time is the most valuable resource for these business owners, and being able to manage their time is the first thing. Once they get that under control, then generally the numbers, being able to track their business and be able to make the best decisions based on numbers rather than emotions is a big area. And we teach all of this stuff at the business conference, particularly you, Clay. You love to hammer on time management. It's my favorite part of the conference.
Now, I'm going to pull this up real quick here, because we're going to go through. If you're not excited, I want to get you excited about what we're going to cover at the workshop here. Okay.
All right.
The 2-day interactive workshop. This is my 20th year hosting workshops. So I'm telling you, folks, we're in rare form here. So one is the idea of establishing your revenue goals. I think most entrepreneurs don't know their revenue goals. Would you agree, or am I off my rocker?
No, that's totally a very important point we do with every one of our new clients that come on board is we have to establish the revenue goals. And generally speaking, we have a vague idea, but not an exact idea that can be engineered down into like the daily goals for sales. And so that's a really big one.
Now, next is the break-even numbers. What kind of sales do you have to do to even break even?
Yeah.
Third is how many hours per week do you want to work? What is your ideal schedule as an entrepreneur? Box number 4, how do you stand out in the clutter of commerce? What makes your company unique from all the different businesses? In a world of brown cows, herds of brown cows, proverbial brown cows, the analogy of brown cows, how can you be the purple cow that stands out? How can you be the squeaky wheel that gets the oil? Box number 5, branding. How do you improve the perception that people have of you, your business, your brand? Box number 6, marketing, your three-legged marketing stool. What is a turnkey way for you and your company to generate leads so you can succeed? Because if you don't have any leads, your business will bleed. If you can't sell, your business will go to hell. You've got to generate leads. Sean, how often do business owners by default tell you they have a hard time generating leads?
It's almost all of the time. It's really a huge struggle. And many times they may be creating leads, but just through word of mouth. So they get to a point where we've implemented systems and then they need to create more leads, but they've never had to do it. So there's a lot of different scenarios where business owners are like, how do you create leads? Something we hammer on at the conference a lot.
Box number 7, create a sales conversion system. Again, box number 7, create a sales conversion system. Sales scripts, recorded calls, one sheets, pre-written emails, lead trackers, all of the sales tools, the sales print pieces, the one sheets, the big screens that you see inside the business. Whether you're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're a lawyer, you got to have sales systems in place. We help you with that. Box number 8, what does it cost you to get another customer? Step number 8, what does it cost you to actually acquire a customer? Step number 9, it's hard to build an organization if you're not organized. We're going to teach you how to create repeatable systems, processes, file organization. Box number 10, we're going to teach you how to manage people, real people on the planet Earth. This just in, we're going to teach you how to manage real people on the planet Earth. Box number 11, how to create a sustainable schedule that works for you and your family. Step number 12, how to create human resources systems for recruiting, hiring, training, and retaining great people. Box number 13, accounting. This just in, we have to cover accounting. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. We're going to cover all the accounting things you need to know. And step 14, finally, what is the point of even achieving success? We're going to go over what is the point of even achieving success, how to design a life that you're excited about, how to design a life where you carve out enough time for your faith, your family, your finance, your fitness, your friendship, your fun, and where you're going to spend your focused time. We're going to go through that, all this and more. Now, the workshop, Sean, it's June 5th and 6th. Yep. It's a 2-day interactive workshop. Yes. And tickets, we always do it. It's $250 or whatever price that someone can afford. Sean, why do we let people name their price? Why do we have scholarship tickets available if somebody can't afford the $250 general admission ticket?
Well, we don't want anybody to miss out on it. You could be at a startup phase or you could be, way along in your business, but we want to make it accessible for everybody. I think it actually goes back to a story of your dad. And it goes all the way back to how you've always done this as a business coach, trying to make sure that, your average people out there have access to the things that work.
Now, 7 a.m. to 5, Sean, why do we go from 7 to 5 both days? I mean, it's 10 hours a day. 20 hours of training over 2 days. Why do we do 10 hours a day, Sean, of back-to-back workshops? We do a 30-minute teaching session. We do a 15-minute question and answer session, and then we take a break. 30 minutes of teaching, 15 minutes of question and answer, then we take a break. Why do we do that format, Sean?
That format is so that we can keep people engaged and not just sitting there listening, but also getting involved. We really encourage people to ask questions, and that's really where the juiciness of the conference comes out, is you can put your personal situation and your questions on the board, and Clay will tee off and give you direct advice. Even without being in our coaching program, you can get direct coaching from Clay. It's really a very engaging format. I enjoy it a lot.
Sean, final 60 seconds, pop quiz here. What date is the conference?
June 5th and 6th, 2025, this year.
Question number 2. Who's our keynote speaker coming to the conference there, Sean?
Tim Tebow is our keynote speaker.
Sean, question number 3. How much does it cost to come to our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
I think it's, did you say it's $250 or whatever you can afford?
That's right, $250
Yes.
or whatever you can afford. Sean, how do you spell Eric Trump backwards?
P-M-U-R-T-C-I-R-E. Ooh, that took a long time.
I'll have to listen to this. And you did it right. All right, again, that's Sean Lohman. I'm Clay Clark, inviting you to come join us at the in-person Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive workshop, June 5th and 6th, right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sean, I'm excited to have this event. I'm excited to see you at the event, June 5th and 6th, right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tim Tebow, baby. It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem.
You could be anywhere doing a lot of different things, but you chose to be here.
Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
Hey guys, Luke Erickson here with the Thrivetime Show. As you can see behind me, we've got all kinds of energy going on. People are starting to show up for the conference, and it is hot in this place. We got grill guns over here. We've got people playing the drums. We've got a fire breather, and man, people are so excited as they come in. Conference is kicked off. This house is packed. We've got Aaron Hansis with Shaw Holmes up there. We've got Steve Currington with Total Lindy Concepts up there talking about what is possible when you just implement, when you do the proven system. It's so exciting. People are going crazy. Guys, Luke Erickson with the Thrivetime Show here with you. It is day 2 and the energy is high. People are so excited to be showing up. The team is ready. Come on, let's see what it's like to go on in for day 2. Follow me. I'll tell you what, people are so excited to be here for day 2. It is going to be incredible. Cannot wait to see what today has in store. Right now, here at the conference, we've broken into groups going over search engine optimization. And I know for most of us, myself included, if you hear that term, you go, what is that? What does that mean? That's too techie for me. Well, our experts are breaking it down for people so that you can clearly understand how to come up top in Google. It's doable. It's possible. Now we're in the middle of a break, and what we like to do is we like to give you as much tangible and relevant information from about the start of the hour for 45 minutes. Then we take approximately a 15-minute break to allow people to connect with other entrepreneurs around them, bathroom breaks, and also use this time to just really digest all of the good information that you're receiving the whole time. Right behind me, we've got Bob with his grill gun, melting an ice sculpture. It is awesome. The ice sculpture represents our life, right? It's here for a time, but we all need to have the sense of urgency to implement the things that we're learning so that we can make the most of the time that we have.
I heard about it on the podcast. Started listening to the podcast, became a fan, and then figured out about the workshop. I own an insurance and financial services agency, and I was hoping to learn from the workshop systems and processes. I'm big on systems and processes and always learning better ways to run a business more efficiently. The atmosphere's second to none. It's a high energy, really cool atmosphere to be around. Contagious, I would say. Just something every entrepreneur, I think, would appreciate and love. I'd say humorous, high energy, and full of substance, which I think is the key. A lot of business coaches or seminars maybe are high on motivation and making you feel good, but don't have a lot of substance that you can take back and implement, the following Monday, where his does. Man, there's a lot of valuable things. I'm gonna say, like, this is my second workshop. The first workshop I took back really the importance of a group interview. I used to spend hours and hours interviewing people, screening resumes, and that saving my time on that part is valuable. It was that and then the sales scripting that have been two major things just so far. Man, I think they're missing out on, expert advice from somebody who's been there, done that, built companies, has learned a lot of lessons. That's what I'm always looking for, is somebody that I can learn from that's ahead of where I am. And I think if you choose not to come, you're missing out on a lot of good advice that could help your business.
Hi, I'm Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes. I first heard about Clay through a mortgage lender here in town who had told me what a great job he had been doing for them, and I actually noticed he was driving a Lamborghini all of a sudden, so I was willing to listen. In my career, I've sold a little over $800 million in real estate. So honestly, I thought I kind of knew everything about marketing and homes. And then I met Clay, and my perception of what I knew and what I could do definitely changed. After doing $800 million in sales over a 15-year career, I really thought I knew what I was doing. I've been managing a large team of salespeople for the last 10 years here with Shaw Homes. And we've been a company that's been in business for 35 years. We've become one of the largest builders in the Tulsa area, and that was without Clay. So when I came to know Clay, I really thought, man, there's not much more I need to know, but I'm willing to listen. The interesting thing is our internet leads from our website has actually, in a 4-month period of time, has gone from somewhere around 10 to 15 leads in a month to 180 internet leads in a month. Just from the few things that he's shown us how to implement that I honestly probably never would have come up with on my own. So I got a lot of good things to say about the system that Clay put in place with us. And it's just been an incredible experience. I am very glad that we met and had the opportunity to work with Clay. So the interaction with the team and with Clay on a weekly basis is honestly very enlightening. One of the things that I love about Clay's perspective on things is that he doesn't come from my industry. He's not somebody who's in the home building industry. I've listened to all the experts in my field. Our company has paid for me to go to seminars, international builder shows, all kinds of places where I've had the opportunity to learn from the experts in my industry. But the thing that I found working with Clay is that he comes from such a broad spectrum of working with so many different types of businesses that he has a perspective that's difficult for me to gain because I get so entrenched in what I do, I'm not paying attention to what other leading industry experts are doing. And Clay really brings that perspective for me. It is very valuable time every week when I get that hour with him. From my perspective, the reason that any business owner who's thinking about hooking up with Thrive needs to definitely consider it is because the results that we've gotten in a very short period of time are honestly monumental. It has really exceeded my wildest expectation of what he might be able to do. I came in skeptical because I'm very pragmatic, and as I've gone through the process over just a few months, I've realized it's probably one of the best moves we've ever made. I think a lot of people probably feel like they don't need a business or marketing consultant because they maybe are a little bit prideful and like to think they know everything. I know that's how I felt coming in. We're a big company that's definitely one of the largest in town. And so we kind of felt like we knew what we were doing. And I think for a lot of people, they let their ego get in the way of listening to somebody that might have a better or different perspective than theirs. I would just really encourage you, if you're thinking about working with Clay, the thing is, it's month to month. Go give it a try and see what happens. I think in the 35-year history of Shaw Homes, This is probably the best thing that's happened to us, and I know if you give him a shot, I think you'll feel the same way. I know for me, the thing I would have missed out on if I didn't work with Clay is I would have missed out on literally an 1,800% increase in our internet leads. Going from 10 a month to 180 a month, that would have been a huge financial decision to just decide not to give it a shot. I would absolutely recommend Clay Clark to anybody who's thinking about working with somebody in marketing. I would skip over anybody else you were thinking about, and I would go straight to Clay and his team. I guarantee you're not going to regret it, because we sure haven't.
My name is Danielle Sprick, and I am the founder of D Sprick Realty Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After being a stay-at-home mom for 12 years and my 3 kids started school and they were in school full-time, I was at a crossroads and trying to decide what do I want to do? My degree and my background is in education, but after being a mom and staying home and all of that, I just didn't have a passion for it like I once did. My husband suggested real estate. He's a home builder, so real estate and home building go hand in hand, and we just rolled with it. I love people, I love working with people, I love the building relationships, but one thing that was really difficult for me was the business side of things. The processes and the advertising and marketing. I knew that I did not have what I needed to make that what it should be. So I reached out to Clay at that time, and he and his team have been extremely instrumental in helping us build our brand, help market our business, our agents, the homes that we represent. Everything that we do is a direct line from Clay and his team and all that they've done for us. We launched our brokerage, our real estate brokerage, 8 months ago. And in that time, we've gone from myself and one other agent to just this week, we signed on our 16th agent. We have been blessed with the fact that we right now have just over 10 million in pending transactions. 3 years ago, I never would have even imagined that I would be in this role that I'm in today, building a business, having 16 agents. But I have to give credit where credit's due. And Clay and his team and the business coaching that they've offered us has been huge. It's been instrumental in what we're doing. Don't ever limit your vision. When you dream big, big things happen.
I started a business because I couldn't work for anyone else. I do things my way. I do what I think is in the best interest of the patient. I don't answer to insurance companies. I don't answer to large corporate organizations. I answer to my patient, and that's it. My thought when I opened my clinic was I can do this all myself. I don't need additional outside help in many ways. I went to medical school. I can figure this out. But it was a very, very steep learning curve. Within the first 6 months of opening my clinic, I had a $63,000 embezzlement. I lost multiple employees. Clay helped us weather the storm of some of the things that are just a lot of people experience, especially in the medical world. He was instrumental in helping with the specific written business plan. He's been instrumental in hiring good quality employees, using the processes that he outlines for getting in good talent, which is extremely difficult. He helped me in securing the business loans. He helped me with web development and search engine optimization. We've been able to really keep a steady stream of clients coming in because they found us on the web. With everything that I encountered, everything that I experienced, I quickly learned it is worth every penny to have someone in your team that can walk you through and even avoid some of the pitfalls that are almost invariable in starting your own business. I'm Dr. Chad Edwards, and I own Revolution Health and Wellness Clinic.
Clay, my honor to be on your show, and thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learned from you, so congratulations.
And we went from expecting maybe 250,000 this year to we're at 400,000. Hi, I'm Kelsey with K&D's Woodward Finishing, business owner at 23. So I've been working this K&D's company for about 5 years now, and we started working with Thrive not too long ago. And we went from expecting maybe 250,000 this year to we're at 400,000. That's what we're going to hit or exceed. So we're pretty excited about that. It's been pretty much just listening to what they have to say. Their hiring process has just really been incredible as far as finding good quality help, and the just the accountability of meeting up with them weekly, and like such good insight, the resources that they have for specific business questions. It's all been really incredible. It's been a great experience, so I would recommend it to anybody.
What I've seen from Clay and his group at Thrive is they'll give you a simple system, and it's the simple systems are the ones that people can wrap their brain around. They're the ones that people can work with on a day-to-day basis.
Hi there, my name is Stephanie Pipkin. I am 24 years old and I own Black River Falls Cleaning Services. We opened in April of 2019 and it is now mid-June of 2020. So I wanted to talk today about the success and growth I have achieved by implementing the Proven Path with Clay Clark's team and my business coach Luke from Thrivetime. It has been insane to say the least. I started working with them in mid-February of this year, so we're about 4 months in of working together, and it has completely transformed my business in pretty much every facet. So I'm gonna check my notes here. So in 4 months, my leads have tripled. I was getting probably like 2 leads a week. Now I'm getting more in the like 10 to 15 leads a week. I have doubled my number of employees. I'm now hitting the highest revenue weeks in the history of the company, week to week it seems like. We went from about 6 appointments today as our highest in February to now 14 to 15 appointments a day. And hiring quality employees has become much simpler and less stressful by using their systems for hiring. I typically only get maybe 2 complaints a month, if that, and everybody shows up to work. I just have really high quality employees now, especially in something people typically consider a high turnover type of work, you know, cleaning houses, cleaning businesses. I have amazing employees now, and I get rid of the ones who are not so amazing and bring on new ones because of, you know, group interviews and interviewing every single week. It's just been great, and such I don't waste as much time on low quality candidates anymore. And your coach will hold you accountable. I mean, which I love. Again, the tough love is really great. You know, Luke's like a stern father figure, but he's also nice, but also stern when he needs to be, when I'm being lazy and not doing the things that I know I need to do because I don't want to do them. So that's just great. Worth every penny. I mean, I'd pay him $1 million a month if I can, and maybe someday I'll be able to, but I would just say go for it. If it seems like a good fit, just go for it. Do what they say, even if you think it's stupid or ridiculous. Just do what they say because it'll work. You know, people, when they look at my business, you know, people in my town, they think I'm lucky. They think I'm just, you know, things just happen for me. And, you know, maybe I am lucky, but it has a lot to do with hard work and, you know, perseverance and, you know, working till you cry sometimes. That's just being an entrepreneur, which if you're a business owner, you understand that. But it's having these systems in place of, you know, of course I'm going to be successful. It's an absolute because I have all this stuff in the background happening, and I have Luke and Clay and everybody on their team working really hard to make sure that I'm a success. And I can tell that they are just so excited every single week when I'm having all these wins and things like that. They're so excited for me. So it's the best thing ever, and I would suggest to anybody to work with them. So sorry for the long-winded reply, but I just had so much to say, and I could go on for hours probably about how amazing they are. But thank you to Clay and Luke and the entire team there, everything you guys have done for me, and I am so excited to continue to work with you for years to come. Thanks so much for watching.
My saying is, if it's important to you, hire a coach. And I think that's one of the reasons people are not successful is they eat a cheeseburger instead of hiring a coach, you know what I mean? And so my coach pushes me. They're younger than me. They push harder. They're trained. And as my rich dad always said, amateurs don't have a coach, but professionals always have coaches. So I've always had coaches for whatever is important. My rich dad was one of those persons. You're on it, man. You're on it. You're on it. Everybody, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. You have the macro picture. Very few people have that point of view.
Clay, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And as they say in Stoic, the obstacle is the way. And so if you let these pinheads get in your way, you're in trouble.